Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the View 52 Challenge. I'm your host tonight, Jack Pinchuk, and I'm not going to lie, I think we've got a pretty short episode here today. There were only about 10 movies between the three of us because we doubled up on challenges, which is always nice to have a short episode every once in a while. With me, once again, it's Alex. Alex, how you doing?
Pop. Let's keep this moving.
Fair enough. All right. And joining us once again, Melissa. How are you today?
I'm here. I apologize in advance. I'm going to be low energy, but we'll see how this goes.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We've all had some low energy days, so you're good. We watched some movies this month for a challenge. Oh yeah, I should probably get the banners for the challenges. The challenges this week were filmed by John Ford, a non-linear film, a film released in 1923, a Western, and a film by Federico Fellini. So let's start with our first challenge, Week 9, a film by John Ford. Alex, you pick. You're the only one that you picked a different one than Melissa and I. Because we did pick the same one. So we'll start with yours.
Yeah, The Grapes of Wrath, based on a book, or at least that's what I heard. It's a much better VeggieTales story than it is a movie John Ford made, but it is the kind of depressing tale of the collapse of the American dream. It's John Ford's not well, and I think that someone needed to check on him at various points of time. Basically a family gets their house capitalismed, so they have to move out to where the work is, and the work is nowhere, and even where the work is, it's bad. Several people die along the way. It's not really that surprising. And then it ends, and you're like, what is this movie? You didn't offer any solutions. There's not even nothing. Okay, all right, fine. AKA the works of John Ford.
I really loved this movie. I wasn't sure what I was getting into when I first sat down to watch it. But when I finally got to it, I was completely taken by the story, by the performances. I can't remember her name. She won Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars. She was Ma Jode, Jode. That's her.
Yeah.
Thank you. She was phenomenal. She had some really great moments in this movie. That monologue towards the end, almost made me tear up. I thought that Fonda was gave a phenomenal performance as Tom Joad, our lead here, and really commanded the screen. I thought it was very ahead of its time in a lot of ways. It tackles issues like police misconduct and many others, all the way back in 1940, which is Just that's not something you expect to see in a movie from the 40s. And yeah, I was really taken by it. I thought it was a very touching story, and found the family to be a very sympathetic, a bunch of very sympathetic characters that you can totally get behind. And I had a good time. I was blown away by this film.
I wish I was. I was not. I will say I read a lot of John Steinbeck books back in the day because I'm from California, and that's just what you do for English class for like several years. So I'm pretty sure I read this book at some point, but I had never seen the film until this challenge. I thought it was incredibly boring. I fell asleep multiple times. I had to watch it multiple times, and I still don't really remember everything that happened. So I apologize, but I thought it was very depressing. There were some nice shots, I guess, but I'm not a John Ford girl. I've come to realize this month.
I'm also not a John Ford girl. It's just not.
I am.
It's not.
I am a John Ford girl. I will be the only one here that is. Anyway,
good for you.
You know what? We'll get to that later, though. Melissa, you and I both had the same movie, and why don't you take this one here?
To be honest, I think you should take it because
I think you should definitely take it
because you actually liked this film. I did not. I can tell you what. I don't remember. This one was even worse. I fell asleep more times than this one. And I really couldn't tell you what the plot is, to be completely honest. And yes, they do sing the song, My Darling Clementine, but I absolutely did not like this film at all. So
This is valid. I'll say, if you're not a John Ford fan, and if you're not a Western fan, and this is not the only time I am going to say this, you probably won't like this movie. I am a simple man. I like John Ford and I like Westerns. You put those two together, and I'm probably going to have a pretty good time. Once again, Fonda gives a very good performance. If you haven't seen Tombstone and you want like a more exciting experience with a similar story, it's the same story, except Tombstone goes on for an hour after the OK Corral sequence in this movie, but it's still very good. This movie ends an hour earlier than Tombstone. Henry Fonda, once again, gives a great performance. I thought he was fantastic as Wyatt Earp, if that's the character. Yeah, Wyatt Earp. I thought he was very good. I thought John Ford's direction was excellent. I thought cinematography was gorgeous. Yeah, this was just a very well-made film, and I do prefer Tombstone. However, I wouldn't complain if I had to watch this movie again. It's like barely over an hour and a half, and I just had I had a really good time with it. I do prefer Grapes of Wrath to it, though, if I'm being honest.
So, My Darling Clementine. And listen, this show's been going on for a minute now. We've seen some like awful movies for this show. I can't think of a more boring movie than My Darling Clementine. Even more than The Grapes of Wrath, which The Grapes of Wrath is just depressing.
yeah.
My Darling Clementine is the kind of movie that like you watch it and you're like, something's killing my soul, and I think this is it. Something's wrong, and you're doing it. I think you can't. It's the most like I made this point about a different movie so on this channel, but not on this show. And it's My Darling Clementine. The biggest problem with it is that characters keep walking into rooms in every scene looking for the plot. And I mean anything to do. Is there a scene in here? Is the plot in this room? No? Dang it. I thought I had it. Okay. All right, we'll try again later. A character will walk into town. Is so-and-so here? Nope. Ah, okay. all right, I'll try again later, and then walks away, and you're like, why is she here? Why a character literally dies as the setup for the whole movie, and you don't see it. He doesn't get like a cool Western heroic thing. He doesn't get like a cool shootout. They ride into town. He's like, don't worry, I got this. He comes back. Kenny's dead. Crap. And then you're like, I guess we live here now.
Oh, they killed
Kenny's
Kenny.
dead and the cattle are gone. That's an exciting premise in most Westerns, and it's just like, beans. It's just a very boring movie. I can't get past it. They do sing the song though, which
they do.
I can't. Good. I don't know.
But I want to address the he doesn't get a whole Western like send off, like epic gun like
it's
epic,
cinematic. It's what it is.
Epic death or anything like that. He's not supposed to. You're not supposed to know who killed him. There's supposed to be a little air of like mystery as to who exactly killed him. Was it the people we think it is, or was it someone else that just happened along to find him and the cattle and decide, hey, I'm just gonna kill this one dude that's guarding this like dozen or so cows and take them. I don't know, but I thought the setup was solid. I thought them just living in this small town, and what I love, and this is a big part of How Green Was My Valley too, is just movies set in small town. Not really much of a plot, just characters existing in this town and letting their lives happen. I find it really interesting when we get movies like that, like How Green Was My Valley, which I'm the only person, it seems, in this community that likes that movie, and it pisses me off, but whatever. I'm just the only person, it seems, in the Rogue Nation anyways, that likes John Ford, which, that's rough. Anyway, I just didn't address that last night when you first brought it up because I was way too tired to deal with that. Anyway, there's nothing else to talk about here.
Not with My Darling Clementine, you're right. Let's move on.
Yes, we'll move on. Week 10. That's right, only 2 movies for that one. We have 3 for this one, though. Week 10 was a non-linear film. Alex, kick us off.
Yeah, The Battle of Algiers, a fascinating movie, actually, about a kind of citywide conflict between these 2 ethnic groups that explores the like overview of like what it means to run like a military, a kind of micro view is like the individual actions of certain people, how the 2 clash and how that affects the mental state and the overall state. It's actually like really interesting, kind of hard to explain, but that is probably the best way I can. You are following the actions of liberty fighters as they clash against the government of this particular city, and you are also following the actions of the people put in charge to quash this little rebellion. And you are doing it at different times. So it's probably I honestly, this is one that I would have to come back to give like 3 or 4 different times. But it is really interesting. It's pretty brutal also kind of to watch. It's very honest about what actions are taken in that kind of conflict. And I think, although I will say the one shortcoming that it does have is it doesn't have any like particular standout performances except for one guy that looks so much like Jean-Claude Van Damme that it is really distracting. Like, I don't know if I'm the only one that feels like this, but that guy looks so much like Jean-Claude Van Damme,
especially in the banner on Letterboxd.
I mean, I see what you like are saying there, but like it not really for me.
I get it.
It's like I see what you're saying, but that it didn't happen for me. But
that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just distracting. Yeah, but I think it's missing like a standout performance, and I think that kind of hurts it, because I think if you were to remake this movie, you would want to identify with the rebels more than you do now, than you do when you watch this version. Because right now you are just given both perspectives, and you're like, yeah, that's what that was like, probably. Whereas I think in a more modern sense, which is the only sense that I have, you would definitely want to make the side that you disagree with be more, I don't know, nefarious or more
You want
asympathetic. Whereas as opposed to this, like, well, as opposed to like this guy getting handed, well, this is my job to squash this rebellion. I guess I will begin doing that now. All right, doing it, and we're done, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think the film is very like it's filmed in a very realistic way. It almost feels like a documentary. And I guess from that perspective, I think they're trying very hard to like have non-perspective almost, just like try to be on an even playing field on both sides. With that being said, though, I agree with you. I think that's why I couldn't like it's like a masterpiece in filmmaking, like 1,000%. Like some of the stuff they accomplish with some of the sequences, and just again like how realistic it feels is incredible. But like there is something missing, like emotionally, to like really be fully engaged, or like be like, I don't know. I felt pretty indifferent. I feel like when I was done watching it, but it is one that I want to return to because yeah, it was incredible just how they filmed it. And I didn't have a time to like deep dive into it, but I like want to, because I'm beyond curious how they were able to accomplish some of the sequences.
It is a masterpiece in editing, if nothing else. Like getting those sequences to work together. That in and of itself is an impressive achievement. I do think there is something to the idea that realism sometimes leads to coldness. This like we're never gonna get this out of a mild temperature, because you can't go extreme and do something like that messed up, because that didn't happen. So we have to keep it to what did.
Yeah,
and even what did is like bombings and just still awful stuff. But the movie lacks a damning perspective.
Yes. I was once again with this movie. I was blown away. I do understand what you're saying about the only thing like one of the few things that are what that's hindering it is the lack of a standout performance. And at first I was like, no, I thought that there were a lot of phenomenal performances. And while, yes, I still stand by that, I don't think there's any that like rise above the rest as like truly the best performance in this movie. I think they're all doing their job super well. Performance-wise, I don't think any one person stands out above the rest. You better not start barking. Don't do it. Anyway, sorry, I'm watching my Nana's dogs right now, and one of them is having a tantrum. We're about to. Anyway, yeah, this is an incredibly well shot, well edited film. This, it's stunning, honestly. We're gonna move on now, and I'm just gonna quickly put the dog outside. So, Melissa, you can talk about yours.
Okay. Also, really quick, the music was really great as well. We didn't talk about that. Okay. So yeah, the film I chose was Belle de Jour. And this was a really interesting one. It definitely, so I guess like synopsis wise, it stars Catherine how do you I don't know how to say her last name because it's French.
Catherine something.
Yeah. She stars as Severine. And she's she's like a housewife to this pretty attractive little doctor. And she's having these fantasies, essentially these like very sexual fantasies. And at first you're kind of like, okay, is this real? Is this a fantasy? It kind of takes a while to kind of orient yourself for a moment of like what's going on, but you kind of realize that a lot of this movie is blending kind of reality and fantasy. But and then she ultimately becomes a like, prostitute essentially during the day, while her husband's at work, and she goes by the name Belle de Jour. But again, this film's not really, I feel like, super focused on the plot. It's definitely more about the themes that are going on. How your sexuality kind of forms you psychologically, and it was very interesting. I definitely would like to rewatch this because I feel like a lot that I could pick up on a rewatch, but it was a very interesting like meditation on kind of that theme of like sexuality and kind of how that forms you as a person and repression and those kind of things. So.
Yeah, I saw this morning. This was one of 3 movies I still had to see for this challenge this morning. Which
good morning.
Great thing to watch. I saw it immediately after Battle of Algiers, and that was something. But no, this Catherine Deneuve is phenomenal in this film. Like an incredible performance. I thought it was a very well-made film. I think it's one that will go up on rewatch for me if I get the opportunity to revisit it, because there's definitely a lot of things I missed, as is usually the case with non-English language films for me on the first viewing. So it's one I'm excited to revisit, and it's one that I was looking for an excuse to try to get to anyway. So thank you for picking it. It's been on my radar for a while.
I really struggle with Belle de Jour. I thought the first fantasy sequence was like really interesting. I think the rest of them kind of devolve into a way where I was like, oh snap, this is a weird life experience. And then you think of it as a fantasy, you're like, that's a weird thing to fantasize about. And then the rest of them are like, she okay? is she doing all right? Yeah, I really wanted Jack to introduce this one because I wanted to see him get uncomfortable talking about prostitution again. The next
okay. I pick Irma La Douce one time and have to try to introduce a prostitution movie one time, and now okay, fine.
Yeah, I wanted this to be weirder, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it was like, considering it's a movie that's like about sexuality and kind of these pretty intense fantasies, it was pretty tame, like at the end of the day.
Yeah, I thought it could definitely have afforded to be weirder. They definitely tried, but there is part of this that this was made a long time ago, and now you can film significantly weirder stuff, or at least make significantly weirder stuff, and it will have much worse impact. Whereas I go, yeah, she's having stuff shoveled on her when she's tied up. Yeah, yeah, go on. I wanted it to be stranger. Although I will say that I think this is unusual for me because I actually preferred the stuff that was going on in her life as opposed to the stuff that it was going on in her head. I think that once she got out of her head and started this new part of her life, her fantasies got less interesting, but her real life, that got way more interesting, both professionally and personally. Like she just had a lot more going on. Whereas before, I think sitting at home was like low-key kind of killing her. just dying of boredom trying to connect to this. You're right, he was handsome. He was a hunky dude.
I was like, girl, just talk to him. What do you need? Like
I saw this a while ago. They're married and she's like, I'll sleep with him eventually. I'll get to it. It'll be fine. That was what happened, right? Like, I'm not making that up.
Wait, say that again. Sorry.
I like that. That's what would have happened. That's what was going on in the beginning. Is like he was like, "Want to come in here with me?" And she's like,
Nah. Yeah.
"I'll get around to it." He goes, "All right, sure."
And then later in the movie.
Yeah, later, a bit later.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry,
And
we'll
again-
get to that like an hour and 20 minutes from now.
And again, there's a lot of like where it's like blending so much to dream and reality, where like you could even argue like the whole film is
Yeah,
you
so
know,
most of this maybe didn't happen. She's just
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's hard to know. Like I don't know.
Especially with that end.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
with
Mhm.
so I don't it's one that I want to definitely revisit. A lot like this movie, which is my pick, Rashomon. I've heard nothing but incredible things about this movie. A lot of people call this their favorite Kurosawa movie. They think it's, and I absolutely see the parallels between this and The Last Duel, which I saw when it came out in theaters, and thought was a masterpiece. This movie, I don't know if I missed something, but I was underwhelmed. Maybe I built it up too much in my head. I will say Toshiro Mifune is great as always. To quote one Alex Martinez Coronado, I'd recognize that deranged look anywhere. Is that Toshiro Mifune? Yes, it is. And he's great. The rest of the movie, I don't know. It just felt off to me. Like it was on a completely different wavelength. I respect a lot of the I have a lot of respect for the technical elements of it and the editing choices, but I don't know, some of the performances just felt just off to me. I don't know how. It's one that I want to revisit because I feel like I will pick up more on a rewatch. For now, though, it's a 3.5-star movie for me. I thought it was good, not great. I'm gonna let the dog back in.
I absolutely loved this movie. I can't wait to rewatch it. I think it's a great meditation again on like just storytelling in general. I think when you watch a film, you want to believe everything you're seeing on screen, and that totally is being warped here, which I love. And I do also feel like this is incredibly influential. Like I see this in so many different movies, just some of the like the story structure, I guess, or just like kind of the story in general. Like I can see it in some different films from today or that came afterwards. Also, fuck John Ford with his whole thing with the sunset. Like make it interesting. I love what fucking Kurosawa did. Put the camera right directly in the sun. That's what I love to see.
What are they gonna do about it?
No, because I loved the shots in this film. I thought it was incredible, and I loved all the performances. And yeah, this is definitely one where I could see picking up something new every time you watch too. Just a little subtlety through the
whole day
performances.
is me gonna be being between you two because I liked it. I hated it. I liked it. Okay. Yeah, I thought Rashomon was actually pretty well done. I think there's a better version of this somewhere. I think the production is probably the best part for me. The production, the story structure. The acting itself is fine. Although I am always like amused by Toshiro Mifune, who cannot go small. He's like, no, you got me. I'm bringing myself, my comically large eyebrows. I'm taking that girl's eyebrows and adding them to my eyebrows.
And taking everyone's personality and
I'm
bringing
taking
it.
everyone's personality. I did you say bigger? Because I'm going bigger. Yeah, this I like stories about stories. However, that kind of clashes in Rashomon with I like all the stories to go in one direction, and Rashomon is like, what if they all go in different directions? And so that like trying to track all of that in my left brain was very was not good for me, and that's probably why I took off that whole last star. Get your stories in order. You're never gonna make it out of this trial if you don't get these stories straight. Yeah, but I did enjoy watching it. I think, which is very strange, out of the two of us, when I watch something with Jack is always like, "That was great," and I go, "Meh, meh." I'm the old man. But I don't know, something about watching Rashomon. Maybe it's that I'm more familiar, like slightly more familiar with like older Japanese movies, or maybe it's that like I don't know. It's starting to not affect me as much watching these like movies in translation through black and white and through it being a different culture. I think like part of that is why maybe Jack couldn't get into it, is that it's so many layers that we have to cross to get to a movie that is already so opaque that at the end of it you're like, oh, I guess the real story was the friends we met along the way. All right, sure.
Okay.
The random baby we found that one time.
Oh, yeah. So I guess we can move on to week 11, which is a movie released in 1923. You two had one movie. I had a different one, so I'll start us off here. I had Safety Last, which it's not Buster Keaton, it's not Charlie Chaplin, it's the other guy whose name escapes me at the moment.
Harold Lloyd.
Yep, Harold Lloyd, 1920. So, for some reason, there's when I was watching this movie, I couldn't. Shush. When I was watching this movie, I couldn't figure out why, but when I looked at Harold Lloyd and like what he was doing in this movie, I'm gonna kill someone. I kept thinking, why does this remind me of Caleb Boatman? And
What? He reminds me of Moshe Kasher, if you know that comedian. He looks exactly like him.
No. And then I read Caleb Boatman's review and I'm like, oh yes, this is exactly why. Because if you don't know what this movie is, it's this guy who moves away and okay. Stop, please. For my sanity, please stop. Okay. This guy moves away, tries to make a lot of money to so he can marry this girl that he's in love with, and he's away for a few months and he's not making a lot of money, and so he's constantly getting himself in these ridiculously comedic situations, whether it's being harassed by 50 customers on what appears to be just an instant Black Friday sale because they're all like tearing him apart, or whether he's hanging off a clock tower. He is constantly getting himself in these just ridiculous situations. And when I read one line in Caleb Boatman's review, the original Anxiety comedy or something like that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why. That's why. Because whenever there's a movie like that, I see Caleb Boatman in the lead role. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I just spent too much time there. I don't know. But I thought Harold Lloyd was fantastic. I thought the comedy was great. I thought the set piece that's on the poster was fantastic. Very well done. It felt a little long. Like, I'm not gonna say it was a terribly long movie, because it wasn't, but it felt like it dragged on a little bit too long, and that's just a common criticism I have with silent movies in general, just because they do feel a little bit longer sometimes. So like Wings, which also was pretty long. So the rest of you two talk about this. I'm gonna go and deal with these dogs because I can't think.
Okay. I saw Harold Lloyd in another silent movie called Girl Shy, which I recommend. It's a really cute rom-com. And so like going into this, I was excited because I really liked him in that movie. And I again really liked him here in Safety Last. I thought I don't know, the over the top, like I don't know, when it comes to silent films, I would much rather them actually use the form and like be silent for the most part and like and it kind of had the overacting and all that, which when we'll get to our other film, I have criticisms there. But no, I thought this was really fun. You know, it's a very simple story. He's essentially, you know, trying to impress, I guess, his colleagues essentially to try to get a promotion and get more money so that him and his fiance can get married. And yeah, that like last what 20 minutes or so, like when he's climbing up.
Such a long sequence.
It was really nerve-wracking. Like it was just thinking like, oh my god, you know that this guy's just fucking climbing this thing right now. Like, and there's probably like, yeah, safety is last. That is correct.
Apparently he like did a lot of that himself. Like it was like he's like missing fingers on his left hand and he was out there climbing. Have you ever seen Batman 66?
Yes.
Okay. For the folks at home that maybe haven't, Batman 66 is Sight Gag the movie. And it's great. Safety Last is like the sometimes you can't get rid of a bomb. Like some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. Like that whole scene is like is like stretched into like this movie. Like what everything that can go wrong, from I took the wrong train to I stole a baby to I'm being accosted at work. My shirt is wrong. I'm gonna die. Everything that can be wrong with your day probably goes wrong in Safety Last. And while that is actually funny, it goes in cycles of like, oh, that's kind of funny. Please stop. Okay, that was cute. Hilarious. Please stop. It definitely like they pace themselves out in a way that, while actually I do agree that it is probably just like a touch too long, it's never like empty calories. They're always trying to like like, you know, the guy like Top Hat and Kane, they're like trying to tap dance you to like keep your attention. So you're not exactly, it's not like a boring too long. It's like a God, I gotta get dinner started soon kind of long. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think if no one else has anything else to say on Safety Last, which I don't think we do, we can talk about you guys' movie.
I guess.
We have to.
So I guess the general synopsis of this film is about a woman kind of in like a love triangle, I guess.
Yeah.
Question mark.
She's in a love triangle, but she doesn't love one of the guys.
Yeah.
In a love triangle, but she doesn't love one of the guys. She moves to Paris because the other one ditched her one time.
Yeah, because like her dad died.
She didn't want to stay by the phone. She didn't want to. Okay, actually, that's what it is. I'm remembering it now. She didn't want to call him, and so she moved to Paris.
Well, I mean, they were planning to run away together, and then the dude's dad like had a heart attack or something. Like,
Listen.
And then he was like, "Oh no, I have to call her and be like, can we postpone this?" And she's just like, "Nah, fuck that."
Yeah, she just hangs up, and then she just goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie's incredibly boring. I haven't seen, actually, weirdly enough, any Charlie Chaplin films, but I would say he should be in front of the camera, not behind it. I just the way that it was like actually like filmed just really didn't work for me. yeah, it wasn't funny because I think this was supposed to be like a serious drama. And with that being said, like that didn't really work for me. I feel like when it comes to silent films, I kind of prefer like the funny kind of slapstick comedy kind of stuff. Because again, I think use the medium, like if it's going to be silent, go over the top and like just go, to do what you can visually. And I feel like there's way too many cue cards happening in this one. I really struggle when silent films have like a cue card like every few seconds. It's like, okay, you should just wait a few more years until audio happens because I hate this. I don't know. I thought this movie was very boring overall, and I did fall asleep as well. I fell asleep a lot this month, y'all. So I'm sorry.
Honestly,
I'm sorry.
I wish I could fall asleep, but right when I was dozing off, that piano score would just wake me the fuck up. No, this movie is a drag. Alex and I were talking about this like a couple days ago, and this movie has one clear problem, and it's addressed at the very beginning of the movie when there's when there's a title card that says, "To the audience, I will not be appearing in this movie. This is my first serious movie. Please don't let that
stay. Please watch it
stay.
though.
I'm not in the
I tried really hard.
Charlie Chaplin." And it's like, this movie has one glaring issue. There's no Charlie Chaplin captivating me on screen.
I'm pretty sure he made a cameo too.
I don't remember that at all.
It's like a very like throwaway like back like side character. So like you lied. Your little title, you're in it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Dear audience, I am in it. I promise.
But no, this movie's fine. It's 78 minutes, but somehow feels 178 minutes long. It's one I can go with never seeing again. I saw it.
Yeah.
It's a Charlie Chaplin directed movie. Cool. I don't have to watch it again. I don't have anything else to say, and I think we all said our piece. So we'll go to week 12, which is a Western. Oh boy, we're back. Once again, you two have a pick, so I'll kick us off with this one. It's The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm a simple man. I like Westerns. I like John Ford, and I like Jimmy Stewart. You have all three of those in a movie together, and I'm probably going to have a good time. I thought Jimmy Stewart was great as Rance. I thought he was a very well-written character. I thought his performance was solid. I thought that Lee Marvin was really good as Liberty Valance. Someone said that he was bad, and I was very confused by that statement, but whatever. I thought he was... How do I want to describe this?
Snoozer.
He is the...
Overrated.
I'm going to punch something.
Potato.
Look, he is the perfect
Overbite.
he back like, okay, I really like Westerns, and the thing I really like about this is how, oh my goodness, this dog is not going to leave me alone.
You got this, Jack. I believe in you.
Okay. I love Westerns. I love the dynamic in Westerns between X town. Like, okay, I'm gonna use a video game comparison because that's all I can think of right now. Y'all play Red Dead Redemption 2? No, you don't like Westerns?
I haven't played it, but it clearly looks a lot like our next movie. Anyways, continue.
Yes, it does. And I'll tell you what, Red Dead Redemption 2. I really like the dynamic between the law and the gunslingers, like, and that's like towards the end of like the Wild West, and this is like kind of like right in the middle of it. I really like how the gunslingers and the outlaws in these are almost like, yeah, they're not exactly liked, but they're almost treated like celebrities in this town, or in these towns. Everyone knows who they are. No one likes them, but no one wants to mess with them. Not even the warden is wants anything to do with them. But and then one person comes along and is like, things need to change here, and drives that home. I really like stories like this, like The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, and I was getting lower on this movie the more it went on after Liberty. It's not a spoiler. It's in the title. After Liberty Valance gets shot, I was like, okay, what are we still doing here? You could have ended it with Liberty Valance getting shot, and then the reveal happens. Spoiler alert for people that haven't seen this movie. The man who shot Liberty Valance was not, in fact, Jimmy Stewart. It was John Wayne, who I thought was good in this movie. He wasn't like great, but I found he was very just weird, because I never thought I'd say this for John Wayne, although to be fair, I have never seen John Wayne in a movie, and I've just heard people say he's not a great actor. He's like kind of bad. He was very like a charismatic presence there. I thought he was very good. And when it's revealed that he's the one who shot Liberty Valance to save Jimmy Stewart's life, I was like, okay, yep, this is totally fine. I totally understand why we're still here now. This is okay. I don't have any issue with it going on this long now. I thought the score was great. I thought the direction was fantastic. And I thought the cinematography, Alex, which you say is shit, is phenomenal. That shot where the flashback sequence, which is for the most part just one shot, where John Ford walks from right in front of the camera down to the end of the alley, catches the gun, shoots Liberty Valance, and then walks back towards the camera, totally blocking it out to make a black screen. I thought that shot was very well done. I thought there were some really great moments in this movie. I had a great time. I understand if you don't like Westerns, if you don't like John Ford, you're probably not going to enjoy this movie. Those are two things I really enjoy. I had a great time with this movie.
I apologize. I did not get to rewatch this movie. I have seen it before, but this was the one movie I did not get to for today's episode. All I will say is I remember thinking this movie's fine. I think it's well made, and it's a fine movie, but I'm like, good for you, not for me. Like that's how I felt when I last watched it. I do plan on watching it sometime after today, but John Bored, I'm saying it, just boring. I don't think I'm a fan of him.
I get it.
Jack,
That's
what,
all.
what are we doing here, Jack? I get it. It's fine. I think this movie's bad. Okay. This movie is built on the premise of like we've spoiled it. It doesn't matter anymore. This movie is built on the premise that Jimmy Stewart eventually becomes the person that shoots Liberty Valance, famed outlaw. Here's the thing. Jimmy Stewart is a weenie. He's a weenie at the beginning of the movie, he's a weenie in the middle of the movie, and he's a weenie at the end of the movie. He's a weenie the whole time. He's a weenie in most movies. Rear Window, weenie. Smith Goes to Washington, weenie that's been outside. He's
Oh my
a
God.
weenie.
Can you define weenie?
Sure. We
The word
can go to
weenie has
Weenie Hut
said
General
way too
if
many
you want.
times in like a 1 minute section of the show.
It's The Man Who Shot Liberty. I just assumed John Wayne did it when we started, to be perfectly honest, because I thought, well, he has a gun. I guess he did it. Nobody else, like the sheriff seems very hesitant to do anything about the Liberty Valance character. John Wayne has a gun. He could probably do it. I assume he did it. And then when it turns out he did, I was like, oh, how about that? Yeah, I'm not a fan of John Ford. I'm not a fan of the way he moves or frequently refuses to move the camera. A whole ass action sequence could be going on, and he's just like, nope, we're staying here. We're gonna stay right here. Sir, he's gonna hit the camera. I said we're staying right here. We're not gonna move the camera at all. Sir, it's the 5th camera we've broken all day. We're getting the shot. No, I'm out of vitriol. John Ford is an inspiration to many filmmakers in history, because many filmmakers look at his movies and think, I could do better than that. Shit, I could be a millionaire. I could be a millionaire soon. Okay, shit, I could do that. I could meet Jimmy Stewart. I could do that. Shit, I can hold a camera. They'll pay me twice. I'll be the director of photography. I'll also be the director. Oh shit, I can do this. I'm never gonna be on board with like hokey one town movies. Where a new nerd becomes a local. And he's like, no, kids, what if you learn to read? I can't begin to care, and we should move on because Jack's getting sad.
I tuned you out. I was reading Cam's review for American Animals, which is a great fucking movie, and you should definitely watch. No, I heard what you said. I understand. I just disagree. Is all. We'll move on. One of you, kick it off.
I'll do it.
Yeah, go for it.
Sergio Leone's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's actually the second of a trilogy of films. The Man with third of the trilogy, apparently. Of The Man with No Name. Clint Eastwood is in it. I want to give credit actually to a few different people. It's a treasure seeking movie. Everyone's looking for this treasure. There's a good, there is a bad, there is an ugly. They're all looking for the same treasure and just meeting and backstabbing and double crossing and then undouble crossing each other. Let's see. I want to give a huge shout out to Clint Eastwood, who I am not like the biggest fan of, but like when used properly, a good dose of Clint Eastwood to your movie is like a wonderful addition. But no, without a doubt, the standout is Eli Wallach as Tuco, who is, I mean, probably the most like for one movie, this guy was the best actor in the world. Like, however it is that he got cast, whoever it is that found him should be given all of the money that this movie made, because you can't do any better. Just an absolutely wonderful, gleeful performance. The like parasocial relationship that Tuco has with Blondie is absolutely wonderful to watch. And a movie that it's like paced so well that you like go to multiple towns, and as soon as the well has run dry, they're like, all right, on to the next. The score, the acting, the production is all really solid. I would define The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly as a master work. It's different from a masterpiece, which could have flaws that you're like, I don't like this. This is not for me. I don't like that. The whole of this film is like one big perfectly moving clock. All of the pieces are just like organized so perfectly that there's like no kinks in it. This is functionally a masterwork, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I like a Western, and it's this movie. Because this movie really doesn't have too much of a plot. Like you said, it's kind of a treasure seeking movie, almost kind of like a road trip movie in a way, because they're kind of just traveling along together. But yeah, I really liked this. I felt like it's like a vibe movie. It's just like, and I liked the vibe it was putting down. The score, I know it's been talked to death, but it really is incredible. I think without the score, this movie wouldn't work. It definitely elevates it to a whole other level, and just some of the shots of the film, and the editing, particularly, I really liked that doorway scene with Angel Eyes. I thought that was really masterfully done, and it looked really cool. And obviously all the different stare downs. I didn't know I would like a movie with a lot of sweating and squinty eyes and stare downs, but here I am. I absolutely loved this movie, and it was incredibly long, but I really didn't feel the length, which is weird because it's a extremely long movie. I would say, like, at the end of the day, I do wish it was a little shorter, because I would like to rewatch it. But it's like, okay, well, I gotta find the time now.
It's a whole day. Yeah,
yeah.
It's a whole day to watch it.
But no, it was incredible. I was really surprised how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to rewatch this movie, but I did see it for Logged It last year when it was movie of the month. I rewatched it then. I saw it for the first time in film studies back in high school and was floored by it. I thought it was incredible. One of the movies that definitely kicked off my love for Westerns. Clint Eastwood is great. Eli Wallach is great. Lee Van Cleef is so good in this movie. Yes, Eli Wallach is probably the best performance. I really dug Lee Van Cleef's performance on this last watch. I thought he was fantastic. That first not 10 minutes, but that first 6 minutes that he shows up and there's no dialogue. And he's just sitting at the end of the table, opposite this one guy. I thought that was some of the most captivating, one of the most captivating introductions to a character. Just the perfect, just really perfectly intimidating character. And man, we haven't talked a lot about that final standoff, which a lot of people have talked about that scene so many times. It's one of the greatest of its kind. It's a perfect scene. But one scene that just sticks in my mind, and a lot of it is because of the score, because there's no dialogue in this part of the movie. Where Lee Van Cleef is at this ruined Confederate army camp, and he's just walking through the ruins of it, and the score is Ennio Morricone's score is playing over the scene. It's just perfect. Goosebumps every time I think about it, and it's an incredible film. One I really want to watch more than I do, but unfortunately, because it's a long movie, I can't always find the time for it. I haven't been able to find time for it recently. So
speaking of finding the time, something really unfortunate happened when I was watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And Jack already knows the story, but I will share it with everyone. I got so into watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly that I just skipped out on a date. I forgot that I had to be somewhere. I just completely, oh, this is great, I'll stay here. And then I didn't realize it for some time afterward. I finished the movie, went about my whole life, and then 4 or 5 hours later at 9 p.m. I was like, I was supposed to do something today. What was it? Ah!
Oh no.
Oh no!
I was like, too late now. We're never gonna see each other again. Block. And I sat there for a
Aw.
while and then moved on.
Oh, sad.
Yeah, these are the commitments I make to this show. Only when the movie's good though. Like if Liberty Valance had been like even slightly worse, I would have been like, I would have gone. I would have paused the movie and been like, I'm gonna go watch Cocaine Bear or whatever. It wouldn't even have been like I'll go watch John Wick 4. That'll probably have an action scene in it. Oh, you thought we were done, huh? You thought we were done with it, huh? Nah, not yet.
Anyway,
the last thing I was just gonna say is like I would love to see this on the big screen. I feel like that would
Oh,
really
me
elevate
too.
it even more. So I'll have to like look out for that. See, I imagine somewhere might play it.
Get on it, AMC.
Come on.
Stop bringing back ET. Spielberg doesn't need it.
That's fair.
anyway, we're on our last week of for this show anyway. For this episode, week 13, a film by Federico Fellini, and spoiler alert, we all picked the same movie. Who wants to kick us off with 8.5?
It can't be me.
I can. That's fine. I think I'm the only one that maybe really loved it.
Yeah.
Question mark. So basically the movie is, I guess to try to put a plot synopsis, is it's about a film director named Guido, and he is essentially having a creativity block, and it's kind of exploring that. And I don't know, I kind of find the film like almost like a cautionary tale of being a filmmaker. Or just again, it actually really reminded me of the scene in The Fabelmans about choosing art as your drug. I feel like it's kind of that's this movie. This is what happens when you choose art as your drug. That there's definitely all these different elements that are maybe overwhelming to a person who is in this kind of specific field. And yeah, it has a blend of like fantasy, reality, dreams, memories. And I think it's also kind of exploring the idea of just losing creativity and like what does that mean? What's the impact of that? Yeah, there's a lot to unpack, especially on a first viewing. I think this is definitely a type of film that you need like several viewings to kind of pick up on all the different things that they're throwing down. I will say this is my 4th Fellini movie, and I'm a huge fan. It's not my favorite. I think my favorite that I've seen so far is still Juliet of the Spirits, and probably a close second being Knights of Cabiria. But I absolutely love this, and you can tell how influential it is to different filmmakers.
Yeah. I had a time watching this. Here's the thing. And this honestly, this may have been the first one to do it. So I don't want to harp on the genre of it's hard to be a filmmaker movies. Because I'm sure it is very difficult to be a filmmaker. But God, so many of the movies in the it's hard to be a filmmaker genre are like, it's hard to be a filmmaker. The answer has to be with my weird, messed up relationship with women. It has to be somewhere in there. And so I was really on board, and then I fell off board, and then I got back on board slightly, and then I fell off board again. I'm sure that lands the movie like somewhere positively in Grace, and this is one where I'm like, I'm not familiar enough with the source of the film to be like confident about having an opinion about it. But if you must press me for one, I will say that the production values are excellent. It is yet another Italian film that starts weird in a car that we have watched for the show. The part where I thought the lady was dancing for the kids, I thought, stop. don't do this. Don't do this. She like lowered her thing, and I was like, nope, don't do it. Very bad. Bad Italians. And I mean, I can't say that it is not interesting. I cannot say that it is not entertaining. I cannot even say that I didn't have fun. I will say that I don't really know what's going on. I am a dog watching airplanes. I'm like, God, how did that get there? Oh wow, that's wild. That's crazy. I'm a dog watching airplanes. That's a tweet. That's going out. Jack, thoughts?
Look, on a technical level, this movie is great. The editing is very well done. I just could not get invested in the story or the characters. I think it's one that a second viewing would help, but I'm not in any particular rush to have a second viewing of this movie is the problem. I don't know. It's one that I was super excited to get to because I loved La Strada. That's one of my favorite first time watches of the year so far. I had a great time with it. The difference to me, and I said this to Alex earlier, it seems like when an Italian movie is trying to be sexy, it's not yeah, sure, it's succeeding in being sexy. Sophia Loren definitely succeeded in that in Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. The movie wasn't good. But when the movie's not trying to be sexy, I don't know. The movie seems to be way better because La Strada, not trying to be a sexy movie in any way, shape, or form. Super invested in the characters, super invested in the story. I thought it was very well done. I don't know. This movie, at points, it was like the way. Okay, I can't remember her name. His buddy, when his like fiance first shows up and she's got the hat that's like blocking her face from view and she's looking down at something, and then she lifts her head up and then Fellini like has a close up of her and it's like trying to of course she's gorgeous, but like he's just, it seems like they're trying to be like, look at this beautiful woman. Okay, good movie. No, I don't know. It didn't succeed. I couldn't get invested in the characters. I couldn't get invested in the story. It's a very well-made film, but not one I can see myself going back to. Even if I think going back to it might improve it in my head, but it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's a confusing movie for me. It's a confusing movie for me.
That's completely fair.
I don't know.
I tend to like those kind of movies.
That's fair.
Sure.
And
yeah,
this is valid.
it's
this
the color
one
of pomegranates, but there's more talkies this time. There's
Yeah.
there's
Yes.
more talkies.
Exactly. I kind of thought that's what was going to happen, but I was curious.
Yeah.
I mean, we all picked it because I think we were all secretly curious, and
yeah.
Jack and I just kept falling off of boats. It just happens sometimes. This is another Italian movie with clowns in it too. So if we could stop that, I don't know who's.
He loves it.
Okay. I don't know who's making all these decisions about the clowns, Italy, but if we could not.
The four movies I've seen of his, really quick, like there's definitely a theme with like circus, clowns, Catholicism, and relationships with women. There's like one other thing, but that's definitely like a through line that I've seen in all four of his movies. That's definitely a thing.
I'll have to like educate myself better about Fellini because I there's something here I just am not.
I highly recommend Juliet of the Spirits. I feel like not enough people in this community watch it or have seen it, and it's so good. Anyways, wrap us up.
Awesome. Well then, our next episode. That's not right. Our next. I have to change that. Our next episode is sometime in April. I'm like almost certain. While I'm figuring that out, what challenge are you most excited for this next month? Because the challenges are Best Original Adapted Screenplay winners. So there's 2 movies in that one. A film featuring Marilyn Monroe, a film by Alfred Hitchcock, and a French film. So yeah, which one are you looking forward to most? I'll go and try to find it.
I would say I'm probably the most excited for the Hitchcock week and then the French film week as well, because I love foreign films and I feel like I've not seen enough Alfred Hitchcock movies, so I'm excited that I'll be watching 3. Let's see, have I seen it? Or no, I've seen Strangers on a Train, so 2 new ones. So that's exciting.
I think I'm most excited for the week that is Marilyn Monroe, because I think she's like a really fascinating performer. But I'm most excited overall to watch Strangers on a Train, because I think that is probably the best premise for a movie in the whole, like maybe the whole month, honestly, is like, hey, 2 people meet and they're like, murder? Murder? And so I think that honestly, like, just on premise alone, like, we're already looking at stars. The stars are going to be flying. If it's good, I'm probably going to love it.
I think it's good. Spoiler, because I've seen
Yes.
it.
I also think it's great. I've also seen it. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm really excited for the Hitchcock week, and I'm really excited for the French week and the Marilyn Monroe week. However, I think the one I'm most looking forward to is the Best Original Adapted Screenplay winners, because I've been told that Divorce Italian Style is fantastic by a couple people that I talk to pretty regularly that have seen this movie. They think it's a very good movie. So that put it on my radar, and when this challenge came up, I'm like, oh, I know what I'm picking. I guess I won't watch To Kill a Mockingbird for Picture This. I'll just wait 20 weeks to watch it. No. I've also never seen To Kill a Mockingbird, so there's that as well, which I'm very excited for. I've seen the play. I think it's great, so I'm very excited to watch the movie. I'm really excited to see The Lady Vanishes, because that's one of the bigger Hitchcock movies that I haven't seen, because a year and a half, 2 years ago, I went on like a Hitchcock marathon for a little bit, and really loved it. So yeah, I'm very excited to see another Hitchcock for sure. Our next episode will be on April 28th at 7 p.m. EST. Time could change. We might go later because 2 months in a row now we've had to start a little bit late. This time it was absolutely on Alex and I, because we finished Liberty Valance last night, and it was like 10 o'clock my time and 12 o'clock Alex's time. And I'm like, you just want to watch this tomorrow? I don't think we're going to survive.
Yeah, but in my defense, I'm not apologizing. So yeah, we can just change the time. What are they going to do about it? This is a tape show. It doesn't, I mean, it's live. So. You can rewatch it. Are you saying an extra hour? Like, it's what, Friday? What are they gonna do?
Friday. That's fair.
You have the whole weekend. Watch it sometime.
Yeah, sometime. We're not picky. Anyway, with that is the show for this week. So I'm very excited to watch some of these movies coming up. I'll take us home, I guess. From all of us here, View 52 challenge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you April 28th. Bye-bye.
Well, nobody's perfect.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.